Now the Bulls have a lot more moves to make other than, trading Alex Caruso. That move kind of fucked up, potentially getting rid of Zach Lavine because you probably needed to include Alex Caruso in that deal. But with the players we have left on the roster that we need to get rid of, Drummond, Torrey Craig, those guys, I feel like they're going to sign somewhere else. DeMar DeRozan, let him walk. But Vooch and Zach Lavine, you need to trade them. So a destination I really like for Zach Lavine. I think Zach Lavine's going to end up in Sacramento or with the Lakers. I think Sacramento could give us the best deal, though. I don't think the Lakers want to get rid of Reeves. I think getting Kevin Huerter, a guy that's one of the best three-point shooters in the league, makes the most sense because this is a guy you bring him into this Bulls offense. He's still pretty young. He's got a decent contract, but he will help Josh Giddey reach his potential. A shooter like that will help our offense because we need shooting. We need guys that can knock down that three, and he's one of those. Trey Lyles too. We need some help at the four position, or he can play center. Versatile with that. Promising young player. He's bounced around a little bit with the Spurs, with the Kings, but solid rotation guy. He's been improving his production last couple seasons with Sacramento, so I wouldn't mind him and getting maybe a couple picks with that would be a big thumbs up for me. Zach Lavine on the Kings would be great. The team they're building, they went in the playoffs. The light the beam team, they beat the Warriors. The Kings had their little special playoff run. They got a good team. They got a good star in De'Aaron Fox. He showed up in the biggest moments. He's a playoff performer. He got hurt, so they lost to the Warriors in the playoffs that season. Last year, they beat the Warriors in the play-in, lost to the Pelicans, but this team still has a lot of solid talent on their roster. Keegan Murray, he's a solid player. Sabonis, he's an all-star kind of caliber player, double machine. So you add Zach Lavine to that mix, a bucket getter, a guy they need. They need another guy that could give you 28 points per game, a guy that could give you 25 plus, and Zach Lavine is that guy. Last year, I know the injuries, him not playing most of the season, that kind of made people forget how good Zach Lavine was, and his trade value was cooked. So, but him with Sacramento, he already said he wanted to play with De'Aaron Fox, and, Sacramento, they could do some things. Malik Monk off the bench, that would be a scary team. They still need to make some moves. They traded Davion Mitchell, though, to the Raptors, so, they need some more help on the bench, I feel like, but getting Zach Lavine, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, Sabonis, and De'Aaron Fox, that's a good five guys to have most of your shit run through. So Sacramento's a good spot for him. DeMar DeRozan, I think he's going to sign with the Clippers. You got to let DeMar DeRozan walk, let him go chase a championship, and he's from Compton, California. So that's a good spot for him to be back in his hometown. He's been wanting to go to LA for a minute. The Lakers, he was going to go there, but they ended up going in a different direction. Him as a Paul George replacement makes a lot of sense. If the Clippers are going to trade Paul George, which I think they will, he's either going to get traded or he's going to sign with the 76ers. But DeMar DeRozan, he's going to replace that consistency that Paul George gave you. He's 82 games he played last year. Was up for the Clutch Player of the Year award. He was one of the most clutch players in the NBA. Just making clutch shots, mid-range assassin. And I think this is a guy that could help you. With Kawhi Leonard, we know he's going to miss some games. He's going to, take up that load. James Harden, DeRozan, Kawhi Leonard. I think that's still a good big three that you can, have success with. And if they're healthy, you'll be able to do some things with that. Paul George, sign and trade. Maybe you get some picks, maybe whatever you got to do. But getting DeMar DeRozan to replace Paul George makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a move that's going to happen. I think DeMar DeRozan, if he doesn't re-sign with the Bulls, he's going to be a Clipper. Now, I think Nikola Vucevic, I think he's going to be a Golden State Warrior. The Warriors, they tried to trade for him at the deadline. It didn't fall through. But I think the Warriors getting Vooch at the 5 position, Draymond, you have Jackson Davis off the bench. You have guys that will, cover up his defensive lack of defense that he plays. But Vucevic, as an offensive player, 17 points per game consistently. He plays 82 games a lot of times. He's really like kind of an Iron Man, It's really hard to get him off the court. Last year we wanted to get him off the court, but with the Warriors, he's going to fit in very well. David Lee, remember him? Remember some of the big men for the Warriors that can shoot the three, that have a good mid-range game? Vooch would be that best, version of that. And I think Steve Kerr would be able to cook with him. Spacing would be great. Steph Curry will have a big man that can shoot the three and a guy that can a weapon for him. Whatever they do with Wiggins, Chris Paul, I don't think the Bulls should want to get those guys in a deal. I think Moses Moody is somebody you want and picks. But yeah, give me Moses Moody, give me a first round pick or whatever kind of pick combination you want to give me, and I'll take that deal. You could have Vooch. And they've been trying to get rid of Moses Moody, so I think that's a deal that could get done. Lonzo Ball, with Josh Giddey coming into the picture and coming into the fold, I think Lonzo Ball is going to be, a buyout candidate. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him. And if he gets bought out, the Lakers has to be the best spot for him. Playing with LeBron James, it doesn't look like Lonzo Ball, the expectation for him is he's not going to be that same player he was once. But being, a great defensive player, that's not, his athleticism. It might be down the drain, but he could still, the type of basketball mind he has, could still be a great passer, could still probably play defense to a decent level. And playing with LeBron James, he's going to get the most out of the players around him. So I think, they need a point guard. And he would fit very well in that spot. And going to LA, going back home, I think that's a spot that would be good for him to play out the rest of his NBA career. So Lonzo Ball to the Lakers, that's somewhere I would want to see him play if the Bulls, give up on him officially. Drummond and Torrey Craig. I think Drummond, he's going to sign with the 76ers. He had a really good, spark off the bench for them. The Sixers really need a big man off the bench. Paul Reed, he was cooked. He was just so bad for them in the playoffs. So cutting him makes a lot of sense. Saving, I think it's like $7 million they save if they cut him. Let him walk and get Drummond in there, who's had success. Him and Embiid had their little rough patch, but they've covered it up. And getting in that trade, getting James Harden, you had to get rid of him and Seth Curry. Bring those guys back. Bring Drummond back. That's a good option, and you be able to have a guy that gives you good minutes while Embiid's on the bench, a guy that will help with rebounding. He has still a solid, decent offensive game in the paint. So his production would be great. Torrey Craig to the Clippers, he would replace Batum's minutes. You really missed a guy like Batum last year when you traded to get James Harden, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, all these players. You missed, those 3-and-D guys. And getting a guy like Torrey Craig would be huge. Good playoff performer. In the playoffs, sometimes he has those huge offensive games. So this is a guy that you could add for that. So I think getting Torrey Craig would be huge for the Clippers. A guy that, played for the Suns, and the Clippers saw how good he was in the playoffs. So good 3-and-D guy, good veteran to have in the locker room, a leader. So I think that's a move that's best for Torrey Craig. That's all the destinations I got for some of the Bulls' best players that are possibly going to be either traded or walk in free agency. Let me know what you think. Let me know where you want to see Zach Lavine, Vooch, and DeMar DeRozan end up, even Lonzo Ball. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. As always, peace.
Some people thought the NFC North was going to be the worst division in football this season. They thought it was going to be as bad as the NFC South.